Yuna walked through the crowded hallway of Stellar Horizon Academy, keeping her eyes down. Students of every shape and size moved around her. Some had scales that shimmered under the bright lights. Others had multiple arms or wings folded against their backs. A few floated in special gravity bubbles. All of them were aliens. She was one of only 23 humans in the entire academy. Out of 8,000 students, that made her kind very rare. Most days, Yuna wished she could be invisible. A group of tall Velcrin students saw her coming and immediately moved to the other side of the hallway. They didn't say anything, but Yuna saw the way they looked at her. Like she carried some kind of disease. Like she was dirty. This happened every day. Yuna reached her locker and entered the code. Her roommate Hana appeared beside her, bouncing on her feet with her usual energy. "Did you see Professor Kelvix posted the lab partners?" Hana asked in Korean. They always spoke Korean when they were alone. It felt like home. "Not yet," Yuna replied, pulling out her datapad. "Well, I got paired with a Zinthari. She seems nice. You?" Yuna checked her screen and sighed. "No one yet." "I'm the odd one out again." Hana's face fell. "They can't keep doing this to you." "It's fine. I'll just work alone." "It's not fine, Yuna. You're smarter than half these students and they treat you like I'm from a death world," Yuna finished. "Because I am." The term always sounded strange to her. Earth wasn't a death world. It was just Earth. It was home. But to the rest of the galaxy, Earth was classified as a Class 12 death world. That meant it was one of the most dangerous planets known to the Galactic Council. The gravity was too strong. The oxygen was toxic to most species. The weather was violent. The predators were massive. And somehow humans had not just survived there but thrived. To the aliens, this made humans both fascinating and terrifying. But mostly, they just stayed away. Yuna's older brother Taeyang walked up to them. He was 19 and studying xenobiology. He looked worried. "Hey, you two. How was morning class?" "Same as always," Yuna said. The Gorskian sitting next to me moved his seat 3 spaces away. Taeyang's jaw tightened. "You should report that." "Report what?" "That someone moved their seat. They're allowed to sit wherever they want." "You know what I mean. This is discrimination." Yuna closed her locker. "I have to get to quantum physics. I'll see you later." She walked away before her brother could argue. Hana gave him an apologetic look and followed Yuna down the hallway. The quantum physics classroom was on the 3rd level of the station. Yuna took the transport tube up, squeezing into the corner as other students packed in around her. No one stood too close. There was always a bubble of empty space around her. She tried not to think about it. The class went well enough. Yuna understood the material better than most students. Professor Tilvex even called on her twice to answer questions. Both times she heard whispers from the other students after she spoke. Of course the human knows that. They're good at destroying things. Deathworlders have such violent minds, Yuna pretended not to hear. After class, she headed toward the cafeteria for lunch. The hallways were packed with students changing classes. Yuna kept to the right side, moving quickly but carefully. That was when she bumped into him. Vextil was a security guard at the academy. He was Ralconian, which meant he looked like a massive insect standing upright. He was nearly 7 feet tall with a hard exoskeleton that gleamed green and black under the lights. His forearms were thick with muscle, and his mandibles clicked together when he talked. Yuna had seen him before, but they had never interacted. He always seemed angry about something. When she bumped into him, she immediately stepped back. "I'm sorry." "Excuse me." Vextil turned around fast, his compound eyes fixed on her. "Watch where you're going." I said, "I'm sorry. The hallway is crowded." "I don't care about your excuses, human." He said the last word like it was something dirty. Other students stopped walking. A crowd began to form. Everyone loved drama, no matter what species they were. Yuna felt her face get hot. "It was an accident." I apologized. "Can I please just go to lunch?" "You Deathworlders think you can do whatever you want," Vextil said loudly. "You come here from your savage planet and expect us to just accept you. I'm not trying to—" "Quiet!" Vextil reached out and shoved her shoulder hard. Yuna stumbled backward 3 steps. Her back hit a locker with a loud clang. Pain shot through her shoulder blades. If she had been any other species, bones would have broken from that push. But human bones were dense and strong. They had to be, growing up in Earth's heavy gravity. Still, it hurt. The crowd was bigger now. Some students were recording on their data pads. Yuna's hand shook. She hated confrontation. She hated being the center of attention. She just wanted to go to lunch and be left alone. I apologized, she said quietly. Please let me pass. Vextil moved closer. He was trying to intimidate her, and it was working. You need to learn your place here, human. You're not on your Deathworld anymore. You're in civilized space now. Yuna tried to step around him. He blocked her path. I said, Vextil grabbed her arm. His grip was incredibly strong. Yuna felt her bones grind together under the pressure. You need to learn respect. Yuna looked up at him. She kept her voice steady even though her heart was pounding. Please let go of my arm. You're hurting me. Good. Maybe you'll remember this next time. For a long moment they stood like that, a human girl barely over 5 feet tall, held by a massive alien security guard. The crowd watched in silence. Finally, Vextil released her. He pushed her again, lighter this time. Get out of my sight. And watch where you walk, or next time won't be so gentle. Yuna hurried past him. She heard laughter from some of the students. Others looked uncomfortable but said nothing. Hana found her in the cafeteria 10 minutes later. Yuna was sitting alone at a corner table, not eating. Her hands were still shaking. I heard what happened, Hana said, sitting down. Are you okay? I'm fine. Yuna, that guard assaulted you. We need to report this. To who? The security office? He's one of them. They'll just say I was being disruptive or something. Then we go to administration. And tell them what? That I got pushed? They'll say I'm being too sensitive. That I need to toughen up. Yuna finally looked at her friend. I just want to get through this year without any more trouble. Hana looked like she wanted to argue, but she stayed quiet. Taiyang joined them a few minutes later. He had already heard about the incident, too. News traveled fast in the academy. I'm filing a complaint, he said immediately. Don't, Yuna told him. It'll just make things worse. Worse? Yuna, he grabbed you. He pushed you. That's assault. I don't care what species he is. Please, Taeyang, just let it go. Her brother stared at her for a long moment. Then he sighed. Fine, but if he touches you again, I'm reporting it. And I don't care what you say, Yuna nodded. She hoped it wouldn't come to that. But deep down, she had a feeling this was only the beginning. The next morning, everyone knew about what happened between Yuna and Vextil. Students stared at her more than usual. Some looked sympathetic. Most just looked curious, like she was an animal in a zoo. Yuna tried to ignore them. She went to her classes, did her work, and kept quiet. But everywhere she went, she felt eyes on her. By the afternoon, things got worse. Yuna was walking to her xenobiology class when Vextil appeared in the hallway. He wasn't alone. 2 other security guards were with him, both Ralconian like him. You there? Human? Vextil called out. Stop. Yuna stopped walking. Her stomach twisted with anxiety. Yes? Random security check. Show me your student identification. Yuna pulled out her ID card and handed it to him. This was unusual. The academy rarely did random checks, and when they did, they didn't target specific students. Vextil took his time examining her card. He turned it over several times, held it up to the light, and scanned it with his data pad. All things he didn't need to do. The card was perfectly valid. Other students walked past. None of them were stopped. Where are you going? Vextil asked. To class. Xenobiology, room 4B. What's in your bag? Yuna's hands tightened on her bag strap. My books and data pad. Normal school supplies. Open it. Yuna unzipped her bag and held it open. Vextil made a show of looking through it, pulling out her notebooks and flipping through pages. He was being deliberately slow. The class started in 3 minutes. Everything seems fine, he finally said. But next time have your ID ready before I ask. Don't make me wait. I gave it to you immediately, Yuna said before she could stop herself. Vextil's mandibles clicked together. Are you arguing with me? No, I'm sorry. Can I go to class now? He held her ID for another few seconds before handing it back. Go. Yuna was 5 minutes late to class. Professor Kelvix, a kind Xanthari with silver scales, gave her a concerned look but said nothing. This became a pattern over the next 3 days. Every time Yuna was in the hallways, Vextil seemed to appear. He stopped her for random checks. He questioned where she was going. He made her empty her bag. Each time he found nothing wrong, but he always made her late to class. The other human students reported similar treatment. Taeyang was stopped twice. Hana was questioned 3 times. A first-year human named Jiho was made to wait for 20 minutes while Vextil verified his schedule. Taiyang filed a formal complaint with the Academy administration. He documented every incident, included video footage from security cameras, and submitted testimony from multiple students. 3 days later, he got a response. The administration thanked him for his concern and said they would look into the matter. Nothing changed. They're not going to do anything, Hana said. She was sitting in Yuna's dorm room, angry and frustrated. They don't care about us. They care about not having problems, Taeyang said. He was leaning against the wall, arms crossed. We're only 23 students out of 8,000. We're not important enough. Yuna was at her desk trying to study. Can we just drop this? I have a test tomorrow. You can't keep ignoring this, her brother said. I'm not ignoring it. I'm dealing with it. By letting him walk all over you? Yuna turned around in her chair. What do you want me to do, Taeyang? Fight him? He's a security guard. He's twice my size. And everyone already thinks humans are violent. If I do anything, they'll just say we're proving them right. So we do nothing. We survive. That's what we do. That's what humans are good at. Hana looked sad. Taeyang looked frustrated. But neither of them argued anymore. The breaking point came on Friday. It was lunchtime and the cafeteria was packed. Yuna had been standing in line for almost 10 minutes. She was tired, hungry, and just wanted to eat something before her afternoon classes. She was almost at the front of the line when she heard a familiar clicking sound behind her. Human. Yuna closed her eyes for a moment, then turned around. Vextil was standing behind her, all four arms crossed over his chest. You cut in line, he said. No, I didn't. I've been standing here for 10 minutes. I saw you cut in line. Go to the back. Other students were watching now. The cafeteria was getting quieter. Yuna pulled out her datapad. Look, I joined the queue at 12:47. The system logged it. I have a queue number, see? Number 247, I didn't cut. Vextil's compound eyes stared at the screen. She was right and he knew it. But admitting that would mean backing down in front of everyone. The system must be wrong, he said. Go to the back of the line. The system isn't wrong. I've been waiting and it's almost my turn. Can I please just get my lunch? Are you refusing a direct order from security? Yuna felt something cold settle in her stomach. This was a trap. If she went to the back of the line, she was admitting she did something wrong. If she refused, he could report her for not following security instructions. I'm not refusing, she said carefully. I'm showing you proof that I didn't cut in line. I don't care about your proof. I know what I saw. The cafeteria was completely silent now. Everyone was watching. Yuna saw Taeyang stand up from his table across the room. Hana was frozen with her fork halfway to her mouth. Yuna took a breath. If you believe I broke a rule, then please escort me to the administration office. I'll file a formal complaint about your accusation and we can review the security footage together. It was the smartest thing she could say. She was offering to follow rules, to go through proper channels. She was being calm and reasonable. Vextil hated it. His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of anger in Ralconian body language. You think you're clever, human? I think I'm hungry and want to eat lunch. You're coming with me. Vextil reached out and grabbed her shoulder. His grip was crushing. We're going to discuss your attitude problem. Pain shot through Yuna's shoulder. She could feel his claws digging into her skin through her uniform. You're hurting me. Please let go. You'll come with me and you'll learn some respect. Let go of me. Yuna's voice was still calm, but there was an edge to it now. You're not allowed to use physical force unless... Vextil yanked her out of line. Yuna stumbled but managed to stay on her feet. The other students backed away, giving them space. I said, you're coming with me. Yuna planted her feet. Earth's gravity was 1.3 times stronger than the station's standard gravity. That meant her muscles, her bones, her entire body was built for heavier conditions. She was harder to move than Vextil expected. I will go with you willingly if you let go of my shoulder, Yuna said. Her voice was steady, but her heart was pounding. Otherwise, this is assault and it's being recorded by 20 different students right now. That was true. Datapads were pointed at them from every direction. Vextil realized his mistake too late. He had let his anger control him. Now he was in a bad position. If he let go, he looked weak. If he didn't let go, he was clearly assaulting a student. His pride made the decision for him. You want to talk about assault? He hissed. You Deathworlders don't know what real violence is. Let me teach you. He pulled his hand back and struck her across the face. It wasn't a slap. It was a full punch with his considerable strength behind it. The kind of blow that would kill most species instantly. The kind of blow that would shatter bone and rupture organs. Yuna's head snapped to the side. She staggered but didn't fall. The cafeteria was dead silent. Slowly, very slowly, Yuna turned her head back to look at Vextil. And that was when everyone saw her eyes. They were completely black. The whites of Yuna's eyes had turned completely black. Her pupils were so wide they seemed to swallow all light. She looked at Vextil, and her face showed no emotion at all. No anger, no fear, nothing. Just cold, empty calculation. Every human in the cafeteria felt it happen to them too. Taeyang's eyes darkened as he pushed away from his table. Hana dropped her fork, her hands starting to shake. 3 other humans across the room all stood up at the same time, their eyes turning black like ink spreading through water. The aliens didn't understand what they were seeing, but something deep in their brains understood danger. Millions of years of evolution were screaming at them to run, to hide, to get away from the predator, because that's what they were looking at, a predator from Earth. A creature that evolved on a planet where everything wanted to kill you, where only the smartest and most dangerous survived. Vextil still had his hand on Yuna's shoulder. She looked down at it, then back up at him. "Remove your hand." Her voice was flat, empty, terrifying in how calm it sounded. Vextil's training told him that humans were weak. They had soft skin, no claws, no armor. They were fragile. But every instinct in his body was telling him to run. His hand started to tremble. "I said," Yuna repeated, "remove your hand." Vextil didn't move. He couldn't. Fear and pride locked him in place. Yuna moved. She was fast, faster than anyone expected. Her hands came up and grabbed Vextil's wrist. She didn't try to push him away or break his grip with strength. Instead, she twisted using leverage and technique. There was a sound like dry wood snapping. Vextil screamed. It was a high-pitched screech that hurt to hear. He dropped to his knees, cradling his wrist. The joint was bent at an angle that wasn't natural, wasn't possible. Yuna maintained her grip, keeping the pressure on. Her black eyes never blinked. She wasn't angry. She wasn't emotional at all. She was just done. "You struck me," she said quietly. The whole cafeteria could hear her in the dead silence. "Under Galactic Accord Article 47, Section 3, I am entitled to respond with equivalent force to defend myself from assault." She applied a little more pressure. Vextil whimpered. "Under Deathworld Exemption Clause 12, I am not responsible for injury caused by my species' biological defensive responses when threatened with violence." Yuna released him and stepped back. Vextil collapsed onto the floor holding his shattered wrist. Green blood leaked between his fingers. The other humans had surrounded them without anyone noticing. Taeyang stood on Yuna's right side, Hana on her left. 3 others formed a loose circle around them. All of them had black eyes. All of them stood perfectly still, watching the crowd of aliens. It was an unconscious formation, a prey species surrounded by predators. When threatened, they grouped together to protect each other. It was instinct millions of years old, triggered by the adrenaline flooding their systems. The aliens pressed themselves against the walls. Some were shaking. A few had fainted. One Velcrin student tried to run and tripped over their own feet. Vextil looked up at Yuna from the floor. For the first time, he truly understood what she was. Not a soft, weak creature that needed protection, but something that evolved on a planet so dangerous that her ancestors had to become apex predators just to survive. You're a monster," he gasped. Yuna's expression didn't change. "No, I'm human." "There's a difference." The cafeteria doors burst open. 6 security guards rushed in, weapons drawn. They stopped when they saw the scene. A Ralconian guard on the floor injured. A human girl standing over him, eyes black as night. Other humans forming a protective circle. The head of security, a large Brontarian named Kess, raised his weapon. "Everyone stay calm. Human students, step away from guard Vextil." "No," Taeyang said. His voice was steady but firm. "We're not moving until you guarantee our safety. You're the ones who attacked." "Check the recordings," Hana interrupted. "Every student in here filmed it. He assaulted her first. We're the victims here." More guards poured into the cafeteria. They formed a line between the humans and the rest of the students. The tension was thick enough to cut. Yuna slowly raised her hands, palms out. "I'll comply," she said. Her voice was returning to normal. "But I want everything on record. I want it documented that he struck me first. I want it documented that I only defended myself." Her eyes were starting to change back. The black was fading, replaced by normal white. Her pupils shrank back to normal size. As the adrenaline left her system, she started to shake. "I'll come quietly," she said. "But I know my rights under galactic law." Kess lowered his weapon slightly. He looked at Vextil on the floor, then at Yuna, then at all the students holding up their data pads. "Fine," he said. "You'll come with us. We'll review all the footage. Everyone else stay where you are. We need statements from all witnesses." Yuna held out her wrists. Kess produced restraints, but they were the soft kind, meant more for show than actual restraint. He seemed afraid to touch her too roughly. As they led her away, Taeyang called out, "I'm contacting the human embassy. They'll have a representative there within the hour." Yuna nodded. She walked between two guards, her head high. The other humans followed with their eyes, still in their protective formation, still ready to fight if needed. The cafeteria erupted into chaos the moment they left. Students were talking over each other, sharing videos, arguing about what they saw. Some said Yuna overreacted. Others said Vextil deserved it. A few were just scared, but everyone agreed on one thing. They would never forget the moment they saw a human's eyes turn black. Yuna was taken to a comfortable holding room. It had a chair, a table, and a window showing the stars outside. She sat down and waited. Her hands were still shaking. The adrenaline was gone now, replaced by exhaustion and delayed shock. She had hurt someone. Badly. She knew it was self-defense, knew it was justified, but she had still broken his wrist. The sound kept echoing in her head. The door opened. Taeyang rushed in, followed by an official from the human embassy, a middle-aged woman named Ambassador Park. "Are you hurt?" Taeyang asked immediately, checking her face where Vextil had struck her. "I'm fine, just a bruise." Ambassador Park sat down across from Yuna. "Tell me exactly what happened. Start from the beginning." Yuna told her everything. The weeks of harassment, the line at the cafeteria, the grab, the threat, the punch, then the response she couldn't control. "My eyes turned black," Yuna said quietly. "I couldn't stop it. It just happened." "I know," Ambassador Park said gently. "It's a normal human stress response. Pupil dilation, blood vessel expansion, adrenaline dump. It happens when we're threatened. You didn't do anything wrong. I broke his wrist. After he assaulted you. After weeks of documented harassment. Yuna, you defended yourself. That's all. They're going to say I'm violent. That humans are dangerous." Ambassador Park reached across the table and took Yuna's hand. "Some of them will. But others will learn something important today. They'll learn that just because we don't have claws or scales doesn't mean we're weak. And they'll learn that pushing around a human is a very, very bad idea." Taeyang sat down next to his sister. "The videos are everywhere already. Every major news station in the sector is running the story. And Yuna, every single video shows he hit you first. You're not the villain here." Yuna leaned against her brother, suddenly feeling very tired. "What happens now?" "Now," Ambassador Park said, "we let the system work. We have evidence. We have witnesses. We have galactic law on our side. And most importantly, we have each other." Outside the holding room, in offices and meeting rooms across the station, the Academy administration was in panic mode. They had an injured security guard, a human student who acted in self-defense, and thousands of videos showing exactly what happened, and they had no idea how to handle it. But one thing was certain. Everything had changed. The Academy's main conference room was filled with people. Administrators sat on one side of the long table. Ambassador Park sat on the other side with Yuna beside her. Taeyang stood behind his sister's chair, refusing to sit. At the head of the table sat Chancellor Morset, an elderly Zenthari who had run the Academy for 30 years. She looked tired. "Let's begin," the Chancellor said. "We've reviewed all the footage from the incident. We've taken statements from 47 witnesses. And we've consulted with legal experts from 3 different planets." One of the administrators, a Gorskian named Pelton, leaned forward. The human student used excessive force. Guard Vextil's wrist was completely shattered. He'll need surgery and months of recovery. Guard Vextil struck a student with enough force to kill most species. Ambassador Park replied coldly. "He's lucky she only broke his wrist." She could have simply reported the assault afterward. She defended herself during an active assault. That's her legal right. The argument went back and forth. Yuna sat quietly, listening. She felt disconnected from it all, like they were talking about someone else. Finally, Chancellor Morset held up a hand. Enough, I want to understand what actually happened. Not the legal arguments, the biological reality. She looked at Yuna. Your eyes turned black. Can you explain that? Yuna glanced at Ambassador Park, who nodded encouragingly. It's called an adrenaline response, Yuna began. When humans feel threatened, our body releases hormones. Adrenaline, cortisol, norepinephrine. These hormones make our heart beat faster, give us more energy, make us stronger and faster. But your eyes, another administrator said, they completely changed color. The pupils dilate, Yuna explained. They get bigger to let in more light so we can see better in dangerous situations. The blood vessels in our eyes also expand. The red blood cells show through the white part, making it look dark, sometimes black. She paused, trying to find simple words. It's automatic. I can't control it. None of us can. When a human is scared or hurt or threatened, it just happens. A Velcrin administrator looked disturbed. So any human could have this transformation? It's not a transformation. It's just biology. And yes, any human. It's how we survived on Earth. Chancellor Morset pulled up a screen. I've been reading about Earth. I admit I didn't know much about it before. I knew it was classified as a Class 12 Deathworld, but I never looked at the details. She scrolled through the file. Earth's gravity is 1.3 times our standard. The oxygen concentration is lethal to 67% of known species. The atmospheric pressure would crush a Velcrin. The planet has extreme weather, including storms that can destroy cities. That's just the environment, Taeyang said quietly. The real danger was the other life forms. The Chancellor kept reading. Native predators include creatures weighing over 200 kilograms that hunt in packs. Earth's oceans contain animals the size of transport ships. There are insects that can kill with poison, plants that are toxic to touch. She looked up. And humans evolved alongside all of this. You didn't just survive. You became the apex predator. We didn't have a choice, Yuna said. Everything on Earth was trying to kill us. We had to become smart enough to outsmart them, fast enough to run from them, strong enough to fight when we had to. And now you're here, Pelton said, on a station with species that didn't evolve in those conditions. That's not our fault, Taeyang said, his voice hard. You invited humans to join the galactic community. You built these academies and told us we were welcome. But you never bothered to understand us. You just assumed we were weak because we don't have shells or claws. We made assumptions, Chancellor Morset admitted. Dangerous ones. She pulled up another screen. This one showed medical data. I had our xenobiology department do a comparison. A human of Yuna's size and weight has muscle density 3 times higher than a Velcrin of the same mass. Her bones can withstand forces that would shatter most species' skeletons. Her immune system fights off diseases that would kill the average Xanthari in hours. And your reflexes, another administrator added, looking at his own datapad. Human reaction time is 0.2 seconds on average. That's twice as fast as most spacefaring species. Because we had to be fast, Yuna said. On Earth, if you weren't fast, you died. The room fell silent. Everyone was starting to understand what they had been dealing with. The quiet human students they barely noticed were actually one of the most dangerous species in the academy. What about the restraint? Chancellor Morset asked. You could have hurt Guard Vextil much worse. Why didn't you? Yuna met her eyes. Because I'm not a monster. Yes, I'm from Earth. Yes, my body is built to survive violence. But I'm also educated. I understand consequences. I know the difference between self-defense and revenge. She used a precision joint lock, Ambassador Park added. She could have broken his arm in 3 places. She could have struck him in vulnerable areas. She could have caused permanent damage. Instead, she used the minimum force necessary to stop the threat. That shows remarkable control. Especially considering she was in an adrenaline state, Taeyang said. When that response triggers, it's hard to think clearly. Everything in your body is screaming at you to fight or run. The fact that she stayed calm enough to use a measured response is impressive. Pelton still looked unconvinced. But the fact remains that our security guard is severely injured. We can't just ignore that. Your security guard assaulted a student, Ambassador Park said flatly, after weeks of documented harassment. After multiple complaints that were ignored. The only reason this escalated is because your administration failed to act. Chancellor Morzet closed her eyes. She looked older than before. You're right, we failed. We received Taeyang's complaint and we did nothing. We allowed one of our guards to abuse his position, and now we're facing the consequences. She opened her eyes and looked at Yuna. I'm sorry. On behalf of the Academy, I apologize. You should have been safe here. We failed to provide that safety. Yuna didn't know what to say. She hadn't expected an apology. What happens now? Taeyang asked. Guard Vextil will be terminated, the Chancellor said. His actions were inexcusable. The security force will undergo complete retraining with a focus on species biology and proper use of force, and will be implementing mandatory education for all students and staff about Deathworld species. And Yuna? Ambassador Park asked. Based on the evidence, she acted in lawful self-defense. However, given the severity of the injuries, we're required to impose some disciplinary action. 3 days suspension starting tomorrow. That's unacceptable, Taeyang began, but Yuna touched his arm. It's fine, she said. 3 days isn't bad. Ambassador Park looked like she wanted to argue, but she nodded. We'll accept that, provided it goes on record that this was self-defense and not aggression. Agreed, Chancellor Morzet said. The meeting continued for another hour, working out details and procedures. But the important part was over. As they left the conference room, Taeyang put his arm around his sister. You okay? Tired, Yuna admitted. And my hand hurts. She looked at her knuckles. They were bruised and swollen. You should go to medical. I will. But first I want to check on something. She led them to the cafeteria. It was dinner time, but the room was only half full. Many students were avoiding the place where the incident happened. The students who were there stopped talking when Yuna walked in. Some stared openly. Others quickly looked away. Yuna got her dinner, a simple rice dish that was close to Earth food, and sat at an empty table. Taeyang and Ambassador Park joined her. After a moment, Hana appeared with her tray. Mind if I sit? Please, Yuna said. More humans gradually joined them. Then surprisingly, a Zenthari student Yuna recognized from her quantum physics class approached. Can I sit here? The student asked nervously. Yuna blinked in surprise. Sure. The Zenthari sat down. I'm Kelleran. I've been in class with you all semester. I just wanted to say, what you did was brave, and I'm sorry no one stood up for you before. Yuna didn't know what to say to that. More students approached. Not all of them, and not even most, but enough that Yuna's table was full for the first time since she arrived at the academy. Things were changing. Slowly, but they were changing. Yuna's 3-day suspension passed quietly. She spent most of it in her dorm room, studying and trying not to think about what happened. Hana kept her company, bringing food and gossip from classes. Everyone's talking about you, Hana said on the second day. The video has millions of views across the sector. Great, Yuna muttered. That's exactly what I wanted. No, listen. Most of the comments are supportive. People are saying the guard deserved it. There's even a movement starting to review how academies treat Deathworld students. Yuna looked up from her datapad. Really? Really? You started something, Yuna, whether you meant to or not. On the 4th day, Yuna returned to classes. She expected more stares, more whispers. And there were some. But there was something else too. Respect. Students moved aside in the hallways, but not out of disgust anymore. Out of acknowledgement. A few even nodded to her as she passed. Her quantum physics class was different. When she walked in, Professor Tilvek stopped his lecture. Welcome back, Yuna, he said formally. We've missed your contributions to class discussions. Several students clapped. Yuna felt her face get hot, but in a good way this time. After class, 3 students approached her. A Zenthari, a Velkrin, and a Gorskian, the same Gorskian who had moved his seat away from her weeks ago. We're working on the group project for stellar engineering, the Zenthari said. Our 4th partner dropped out. Would you want to join our group? Yuna stared at them. You want to work with me? The Gorskian looked embarrassed. I owe you an apology. I was rude before. I made assumptions about you based on prejudice. I'm sorry. We'd really like your help, the Velkrin added. You're the best in the class at theoretical calculations. Yuna felt something warm in her chest. Okay, yeah, I'd like that. The biggest change was in the security force. All the Ralkonian guards had been temporarily reassigned. New guards from different species patrolled the hallways. and they all wore badges that said Species Sensitivity Trained. One of them, a Zenthari named Kelmon, introduced himself to Yuna on her second day back. "I wanted to meet you personally," he said. "I've read your file. I've read all the human student files, actually." As part of the new training, Yuna tensed slightly. And I understand now why what happened was so serious. Guard Vextil didn't just assault you physically. He triggered a biological defense response. That's like deliberately exposing a Mathani to fire. It's not just violence. It's attacking something core to your species' survival. "I didn't want to hurt him," Yuna said quietly. "I know. And the fact that you showed restraint even in that state is remarkable. I just want you to know you're safe here now. All of you are. That's my job, and I take it seriously." Yuna nodded, not trusting herself to speak. The Academy implemented mandatory education sessions about Deathworld species. All students and staff had to attend. Yuna was asked to speak at one of them. She stood in front of 200 students and talked about Earth. About growing up on a planet where the weather could kill you, where animals hunted humans, where every plant had to be tested before you could eat it. "We're not violent because we want to be," she explained. "We're cautious because we had to be. Every human alive is the descendant of people who survived when others didn't. We carry that survival instinct in our genes." A young Velkrin raised a hand. "But how do you live like that? Always ready to fight or run?" "We don't think about it most of the time," Yuna said. "Just like you don't think about breathing. It's just part of who we are. But when we're threatened, really threatened, that's when it comes out. That's when our eyes change and our body prepares for danger." "Are all humans as strong as you?" another student asked. Yuna almost laughed. "I'm actually on the smaller side. My brother is stronger, and there are humans who train specifically for combat or physical activities. They're much, much stronger than me." The room went quiet. They were imagining a human even more capable than the girl who broke a security guard's wrist. "But strength isn't everything," Yuna continued. "The reason humans survived on Earth wasn't just because we were strong. It was because we were smart. We learned to work together. We created tools. We adapted. That's what makes humans special. Not violence. Intelligence and cooperation." After the session, dozens of students approached her with questions. Not hostile questions, curious ones. They wanted to understand. Weeks passed. The incident became old news, replaced by exams and projects and normal academy life. But things were different now. Yuna's group project partners became friends. They studied together, ate lunch together, and taught each other about their different worlds. She learned that Velkrin could see colors humans couldn't. They learned that humans could eat foods that would poison them. Other human students reported similar experiences. The hostility hadn't completely disappeared, but it had reduced significantly. People were more willing to engage, to ask questions, to learn. One day, Yuna was working in the library when someone sat down across from her. She looked up and froze. It was a Ralconian. Not Vextil, but the same species. "Please don't be alarmed," he said quickly. "My name is Tekarine. I'm a new student. I just transferred here." Yuna's hand tightened on her stylus. "Okay. I heard about what happened with Guard Vextil. I wanted to say that not all Ralconians are like him. Many of us were ashamed when we saw that video. He represented the worst of us." Yuna relaxed slightly. "I know I don't judge a whole species by one individual. I wouldn't want people to do that to humans." Tekrine looked relieved. "Thank you. Also, I'm in your stellar engineering class. I was wondering if you could explain the last lecture?" "I got a bit lost," Yuna smiled. "Sure, pull up your notes." They worked together for an hour. When they finished, Tekrine thanked her and left. Hana, who had been studying nearby, came over. "That was big of you," she said. "He's not Vextil," Yuna replied. "Why should I treat him badly because someone else made a mistake? You're a better person than me. I'm still mad at all Ralconians, so I give it time. Anger doesn't help anyone." That evening, Yuna recorded a message to send to her parents on Earth. They worried about her constantly, especially after the incident. She wanted to reassure them. "Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad," she said to the camera. "I know you saw the news. Yes, I'm okay. Better than okay, actually. Things are different now. People understand us better. They're not scared of us anymore. Well, some are, but in a respectful way. Does that make sense?" She paused, thinking. You always told me that humans survived because we adapted, because we learned. I think the same thing is happening here. The galaxy is learning about us, and we're learning about them. It's not perfect. There's still prejudice and fear. But it's getting better. She looked out her window at the stars. I was scared when I first came here. I felt alone, different. But now I realize that everyone feels that way sometimes. The Velcrin are scared of loud noises because their hearing is sensitive. The Methani are scared of water because it can hurt them. Everyone has something they fear. The trick isn't to not be scared. It's to understand each other's fears. To respect them. To help each other feel safe, she smiled. I'm making friends, Mom, real friends. They know I'm from Earth. They know what that means. And they still want to be around me. That's pretty amazing. Dad, remember when you told me that the strongest humans aren't the ones who never fall down, but the ones who get back up? I get it now. I fell down, hard, but I got back up, and I'm stronger for it. She ended the recording and sent it off. It would take weeks to reach Earth and weeks more for their response to come back. But that was okay. Yuna had time. She had her brother, her roommate, and her new friends. She had professors who respected her and guards who protected her. She had a place in this academy, earned through pain but worth it. Outside her window, ships moved through space carrying students from dozens of worlds. Each one different. Each one unique. Each one learning to live together. Yuna thought about the title Deathworlder and decided she didn't mind it anymore. Yes, Earth was dangerous. Yes, humans were strong. But that wasn't all they were. They were also kind, curious, intelligent, creative. They could break bones, but they could also build bridges. She turned off the camera and pulled out her data pad. She had homework to do. A group project with alien students who had become friends. A test in xenobiology where she would learn about worlds she'd never seen. Tomorrow she would go to class. She would eat lunch with her friends. She would study in the library and maybe help someone who was struggling. She would be a student, a friend, a human, and that was enough. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders. Humans were just one small part of it. But they had earned their place. Not through violence, but through understanding. Not through fear, but through respect. Yuna smiled and got to work. The Deathworld girl had found her home among the stars,